Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, and this week we're going to be talking solely about character creation. Now, make no mistake, this particular video is going to be self-contained. I'm going to talk about the basics, the very basics of character creation from beginning to end. However, what I am going to do is I will have supplementary videos after this about the individual origins of certain characters. Case in point, while I will tell you how to do all of the origins on here, very brief, very simple, it will be in other videos where I will break down each individual, such as the altered human, the mutant, the high-tech hero, the robot, and the alien, and so on and so forth. So for right now, I'm going to tell you how to do those, but the individual videos about those characters are forthcoming. Okay, so for now, we're going to start off with the origins. All right. The very first thing you're going to do, and this is on Player's Handbook, this is page 5. So you open up your blue Player's Handbook of the Advanced Edition. On page 5, bottom left-hand corner, you're going to see a simple little chart. All right. You're going to use your percentile dice, 2 10-siders. Make sure you know which one is the high die, which one is the low die. You're going to roll, all right, from 1 to 100. You're going to determine, are you going to be an altered human, a mutant, a high-tech hero like Iron Man? Are you going to be a robot like the Vision, an android, synthezoid, whatever? Or are you going to just simply be an alien, which will include several of the premier races, such as Asgardians? So what are you going to be? Now, make no mistake, this particular chart, this is optional, okay? You absolutely do not have to roll on that. If you want to, by all means, you want to, just go as basic as you can and figure out, okay, what am I going to be? Let's roll the dice. Oh, it looks like I'm going to be a high-tech hero. Okay. By all means. But you don't have to. No one's beholden to that, unless the judge says otherwise, of course. Okay, so after you're going to do that, you're going to flip over page 6 of your Player's Handbook. Now we're going to use the random ranks table. So that first rank that the first columns that you see, all the way on the left towards the center, that is your random ranks table. Now, it does say that, but it's actually you're gonna see in big bold, generating primary abilities. And then in small, not even underlined, it says random ranks table. The reason why this is so important is that they will several times in character creation refer back to random ranks table. Column 4 on the random ranks table, column 3 or column 2 of the random ranks table. Even when you're looking at talents and contacts, they will refer you back to the random ranks table. Understand, this one that has column 1, altered humans and mutants, column 2, normal humans, column 3, high tech, column 4, robots, column 5, aliens. That is called the random ranks table. So every time you see the Player's Handbook refer back to that, that's what it is. Okay, moving on. You're going to roll here. Now, there's several ways you can do this, all right? One way is the very basic, and just go, the first one that you roll is going to be your fighting score, the F on your FASERIP. The second one is agility, so on and so forth, all right? Or one of the ones that I prefer doing is because I like a little more freedom, I'll just roll 7 numbers total. I'll scribe them all down, I'll etch them, and then I'll put them where I feel like putting them, Maybe I got a high one, maybe I got a low one, What do I want to do with this particular low one? Do I just want this to be a dump stat? Like, let's say I roll a poor 4 for something. Man, do I want this to be a dump stat and just put this down in like my psyche or something like that? Clearly I'm not going to be a psychic if I'm doing that. Or maybe, let's say I'm an altered human and I get a +1 to something. I could just very easily bump that up to something. A really good one to do is a high-tech hero. Let's say, for instance, you're not going to be the inventor of this suit. You're just the user of the suit. You roll a poor 4 reason. Okay, not a problem, man. You're for a high-tech hero, your reason automatically gets bumped up 2 column shifts. So now you've got a good. Dude, this is a great way to make sure that you don't get jimmied up with something. If you don't want to be Tony Stark and you'd rather be the Rhodes character with a high tech, boom, that's one way to do it. So you've got to determine what you're going to be doing with your stats this way. And this, I find, is the best way. Do you want to play a particularly strong character? Do you want to play a scrapper like Wolverine? Do you want to play somebody who's really intuitive like Professor X? What do you want to do? How do you want to put your stats? All right, how will they best serve the kind of player, or excuse me, the kind of character that you as the PC are looking to play? All right, moving on now. Now we're going to move over to page 7. Page 7 of the, and really quick, on page 6, there's also the ability modifier table directly to the right of the random ranks table. Pay attention, that exists for a reason. We will use that, we're just not using it right now. Okay, so moving on to page 7, Player's Handbook. Generate your secondary abilities, okay? Your primary abilities, all right, this is what you're generating here, your FASERIP. But now, moving on to the secondary abilities, as we've explained in earlier videos, this is where you get your health, okay? Your FASERIP, your face part, the FASE, the Fighting Agility, Strength, and Endurance. These 4, you add up the points that are there, and these are going to become your health. Now, mind you, when you're first creating a character, the rules state you're going to take the low end. Okay, so when you look at the back of the player's handbook or the back of the judge's handbook, the universal chart, you're going to see that the numbers for, let's say, good go from good 8, good 9, good 10, good 11, good 12, good 13, good 14. Okay, also good 15. When you go to 16, that is a column shift. That goes over to excellent 16. And below good 10 is typical 7. So you have typical 5, typical 6, typical 7. That's its own column. But in this one, good goes from 8 to 15. Now, this is kind of important. Your average hero who's already been established, the cards that come with your game, or just, all those characters, the named characters that you know and love, Thor, Wolverine, Hercules, all the Avengers, all the X-Men, all of the characters that we already know. These characters are going to have, since they've already worked themselves out and gotten themselves nice and tough and whatnot, have the standards, good 10, excellent 20, monstrous 75, unearthly 100, all those. But as a new player, you're going to start off on the low end. So if you roll in the excellent, you're going to be excellent 16. If you roll poor, you're not poor 4, you're poor 3. If you roll somehow monstrous, you're not monstrous 75, you're monstrous 63. Okay? It's important to remember that. You can slowly build yourself up more with karma points, but for now, you're going to start on the low end. So keep that in mind. So when you're adding up your health, excellent, 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 and excellent is not going to equal 80. It's not, all right? It's going to equal just a little bit less than that. Excellent 16, so 16 times 4. There you go. 12, 24, so it'll be 64. That'll be your health instead. That's a huge difference, right? Deal with it. Deal with it. Those other 16 points will come with time and karma. Okay, so now from this point on, you're going to do the same thing with your karma, okay? And here's something I want to point out about karma, an optional house rule that I use, that every time I tell people about this, they usually use it if they're not already using it. Your starting karma is going to be determined by your RIP skills, your reason, intuition, and psyche. Okay, so you add up those points the exact same way you did for your health. Now you're going to add up your karma also using your RIP scores. That's going to go underneath your health. Boom, there, that's your starting karma. Here's what I like to do. Even though it says starting karma, I don't look at it as starting the game. I look at it as starting the individual game, okay? Every time you come back to the table, that starting karma is refreshed. Okay, I know that's not actually a part of the rules, but it's not really breaking the rules. You know what I'm saying? It's just a little reinterpretation of them. I like that because I don't like the idea that your karma, it's there, it's done, and then you never look at it again. No. Rather than just building your karma, I think that it would be a good idea to allow your players to actually use their starting karma again and again. So if they got, 80 karma in the last mission, cool. Give them back their starting karma again, and add it to the karma that they left off with in the previous game. It's just, I think it helps a lot. Especially if there was a death in the previous one, it could help. Okay, now part of your secondary abilities is going to be resources, okay? Here's where you're simply going to, you're going to start off with typical 6, all right? You start off on general with typical 6, but there's also the random roller. Remember I said we're going to get back to that. Here's the first thing you're going to use for the random roller. You're going to look at your resources. It starts off with typical 6. Now, certain character classes make it start off less. All right, case in point, the alien. You start off a little bit less. You start off with poor. okay? And boom, that's it. But for the most part, everybody's going to start off with typical, but you're going to then roll. And mind you, it's not typical 6, it's typical 5, but you get my drift there. So you're going to roll on the random table. Hey, if you get from like 16 to 50, no change whatsoever. But if you roll from 1 to 15, you're going to lose a rank. However, you may notice it also allows you to go up to 4 more ranks. Now that's where it gets fun. Now, resources, we're going to get into an entire video just about resources. But for now, your resources just allow you to make a resources feat to see if you can purchase a big item. All right? Also, resources will allow you to do other things. Resources, you can actually dip into your starting resources. You can only do this at character creation. Let's say you have, and also don't forget a high-tech hero. You're allowed to actually start off as good resources without using. You completely bypass the random table. Okay. Now that's a good thing. That's a bad thing. Okay. You can, instead of saying, okay, here's my typical, I'm going to roll. There's a chance it can go higher. There's a chance it'll stay the same. There's a chance it can go lower. You can simply say, I've got good resources. Boom. That's it. I'm done. Okay. That is a good option to consider. Just pointing out, because if it stays the same, you're stuck at typical. You're stuck at typical. You've actually just got to purchase your resources to go higher, with karma as the game goes on. And that's a kicker. But if you just start at good, it's just one of those benefits that high-tech heroes have. All right, moving on. You can now take these resources and you can actually use them towards powers, talents, and contacts. Okay, so let's say you've got, let's say you roll a +1, or you start off as a high-tech hero and you've got good resources. Awesome. Now you say, I would like an extra power. That's cool, man. You want an extra power. Let's say you rolled the random, because the next thing you're going to do is you're going to roll under the powers, talents, and contacts table. This is also on page 7, bottom right. Okay. You have to roll on this. You can't just choose whatever. Okay. Now you're going to see like on the bottom roll, you're going to see like 2 to 4 for powers. You get 2 to 4 powers. That's not multiple choice. You don't get to choose which ones you got. No. You start with 2 powers. That's it. But the maximum you go up to is 4. Now, certain things will allow you extra powers, extra this, extra that, whatever, okay? One of the ways that you can get an extra power, you're starting off at 2 here, okay? Obviously, if you roll higher, 4 and 4, I get 4 powers. 5 and 5, boom, I got 5 powers. And mutants are allowed to start off with 1 extra power. There's always that. So if it says that, 2 to 4, you get to pick between 2 to 4, you start off with 2, but you, as a mutant, you get to start off with 3 powers. So there's a benefit there. But you still got the option to go up 1 more power. And you could do that by spending 2 column shifts, 2 ranks, same thing, of your resources. So you got good resources? Awesome. Spend 2 of those at your leisure, and you go from good resources down 2 column shifts. So -2 column shifts from good through typical down to poor. So now your starting resources are going to be poor. Even though you rolled or allowed for typical, or excuse me, for good, you will now instead have poor resources to start. This is Peter Parker level resources. And but you get an extra power. Now, by spending this, you can obviously roll for it or just choose. That's up to your judge. But for now, you actually get an extra power that you get to add. Remember, you could do this as much as you want up to the maximum, what it says on the other end of the backslash. So if it says 2 to 4, you can have maximum of 4 powers. There is no way to get a 5th starting power. Those powers will have to be done later. Okay. On top of that, you're also going to determine how many talents and how many contacts you get. So, moving on from this, you're going to turn to page 8 in your player's handbook. Now, on page 8, this is the power category table. Now, you're going to roll for your powers, which powers you're going to get. So there's the power category where it'll tell you, do you have a resistance, a sense? Do you have a movement power, which will allow you either flight or swimming or maybe gliding, teleportation? That's a possibility. All sorts of different things that you can potentially get. Now, once you roll, let's say you roll mental powers. Now, there's the option that you could take a single die, a D10, and roll further to see which one you're going to get. And that's going to be a huge hodgepodge right there, right? Or at this point, you could simply just choose which power you've got. Okay, so let's say you get we already said in the mental powers. Well, which power are you going to get? You could choose the D10, or you can simply choose which power you're going to get. It's not mandatory to roll a single die which power you're going to get there, okay? This is completely up to you. This is according to the player's handbook, all right? So, again, your judge tells you otherwise, boom, there it is. But for now, the standard rules are, this is what you get. If you can't choose and you just, okay, whatever, I'm just going to roll, that's up to you. Or you could even maybe petition your judge. Hey, listen, judge, if I simply do the D10 for all of my powers, besides just the percentiles, okay, so I'm completely random in what powers I get, can I get a little benefit? Can I get a little boost? This is considered a limitation, all right? Now, interestingly enough, limitations we're going to get to immediately after this. So the power ranks. We're going to start off with the power ranks now. Here's where you're going to go back to the random rolls table. And you're going to check on column 4. This is for robots. So even if you rolled a mutant, I've got a mutant power, boom, 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 boom. Or excuse me, I've got a mutant character, and these are the 3 powers that I get, okay? With these 3 powers, what are the column shifts? What's the rank of your power? You're going to roll this not on column 1, where you rolled your FASERIP stats. No, you're going to roll this on column 4. Everybody rolls on column 4 as if you were a robot. So there's a chance you could get Monster 75 as a power, but a small chance. I think it's a 2% chance, 3% chance? What is it? I forget if it's 98 or 99 on there. I'll write it down below. In the meantime, that's what you start off with, and you get to roll on column 4. Don't forget that, because you have a better chance of getting good stuff than rolling on any of the other columns. Well, I think it's a little bit better off on column 5, but you don't have that option. So after this, I also want you to remember the asterisks, okay? Sometimes you'll see a little asterisk, like next to time control, illusion generation, okay, things like that. You'll see a little asterisk. You can look all the way down to the bottom all you want. You're not going to find anything that says, editor's note. No. Rather, this means that this costs 2 power slots. So if you've got 3 powers coming to you and you suddenly roll up time control, okay, listen, if you take time control, this counts as, or immortality, anything like that, this counts as 2 powers, all right? Let's say also, for instance, if you want, look at like certain resistances that you have. If you take, let's say, fire resistance, you're going to roll on column 4 to see what your fire resistance is. Now, maybe you'll roll this up and it'll be like, good 10, actually good 8, right? Here's something that you can do for that. If you want to have some real fun, you might notice that certain characters like Wonder Man and Hercules have class 1000. Class 1000? Like, you can't even column shift up there. We mentioned that earlier with the break. You can't shift from Shift Z to class 1000. There's no shifting after that point, So how'd they do this? With resistances, and only resistances. However, life support is another story. Okay, with resistances or life support, you can choose to spend 2 powers so that you can go up to class 1000 in those specific things. Okay? What do these do for you? More on that later. But that's just an option for you with your powers. All right. So that costs anything with an asterisk, or if you're going to play that game where you double up on them to go up to class 1000, that's going to be a different story. That's going to cost you 2 power slots. Okay.